Hello, everyone. I was writing in my journal, and just a message for whoever finds this someday. But I realize this is an important message that needs to be shared with everyone. And some of you understand this, but not everyone does. And that's okay, because maybe now is the time for you to come into this understanding. Now, some of this is going to be uncomfortable. This is not a comfort conversation. There might be words, things in here that are convicting to you. And if that happens, I just suggest to go to the Lord and humbly sit there before Him. Take any of your questions that you have to Him and understand that if your conviction doesn't lead to peace and joyful understanding, if it leads to anger, then that is an issue of pride in the flesh, and that's something that you want to be killed off, because we are to die in the flesh. So that's something you want to take to the Lord and throw it on that table, that offering table, and give it to Him as a sacrifice, and ask Him to transform you and to help you with that. And don't feel guilt or shame about that. Oftentimes when we're in beginning stages of conviction, we feel anger in our flesh, and we have this pride. We all struggle with pride in different areas, and the Lord helps us to die from it. And it sounds scary, it sounds bad, but it's really not. This is such a good and wonderful thing, because the more we die to our flesh, the more we die to anger that is rooted from pride. The more we walk in the Spirit, the closer we get to the Lord, the more we grow and transform. And as we know, growing can be painful sometimes. So I'm just going to start off. I'm going to read this to you. And I'm just going to read it straight from the journal as it is, so I don't forget anything. This world is full of things we can't take with us when we leave this world. We draw attachments to things and don't want to lose them, but they don't matter, and they were never really ours to begin with. We lust after objects, whether material or living. And what's strange is how we learn over time what is deceiving, and yet we continue to chase. Men see a beautiful woman, and vice versa. But I'm just going to use this as an example, forgive me. Men see a beautiful woman, and their fleshly desires take lead. Yet they don't understand it is only a flesh suit, temporary and perishable. Behind the woman who seeks to devour with her lust is a demonic spirit. Spirits are eternal. And just as Ephesians 6 says, we battle against spirits of darkness, not the flesh. The flesh is the vessel used to manifest either good or evil, God or Satan. At what point do we look at these material objects, lust-filled men and women, and seek the eternal truth of whether there is God's light and will in them, or whether they are a threat to our temporal and eternal being? Perhaps sometimes the object or person isn't the threat, but the lies being whispered into our minds are. This is why we must take every thought captive and speak the truth of God over the lies. When we claim the lies, lusts, and darkness that's being whispered into our minds, and let them take root in our heart and act on them, sin is given birth. And after that comes bondage to sin if we do not repent of it and turn to God's truth. It's been a journey of transformation in this life, and that is the point. We choose God as our Father and guide, or we choose Satan. Many say, what God would cast people into hell? They speak foolishness. It's a lack of spiritual wisdom. The question is, what person would choose hell over God in heaven? God does not force anyone to love him or follow him. Why? Because that's not love. We fight that in our flesh when others try to force things on us. There's a reason for that. Choosing is important. God is pure, holy, love, joy, truth, justice, righteousness. Heaven is goodness, peace, paradise, all without sin, all without darkness and corruption. So if we choose to walk the ways of the world, following our own fleeting desires, which are self-centered, if we choose to idolize other objects, other people, and our own emotions, which are all perishable, then we choose to follow the illusions, deceptions, and entrapments of the evil spiritual forces around us, which are led by Satan. Satan is the god of this world, the lowercase g god of this world. He was given dominion over this world, and we're all given a choice of whether to choose him, his deceiving lusts and darkness, or to choose God and God's wisdom, truth, guidance, love, peace, joy, and salvation through the gift of his Son, Jesus Christ. I've told this to people before, and it's such a great little analogy that the Lord just gave me, and it's so true. So just hear me out. If a child doesn't receive the gift that a father gives him or her, then they never get to enjoy it or possess it. Pretty simple. Yet we humans complicate things and are disgustingly self-entitled. We want God to just give us every little thing our hearts desire, with no regard of whether it is good for us or others. Yet God is a good father. Imagine a child asking their parents for hard drugs and weapons to harm themselves and others with. Well, a good parent would not give that to them. God sees all and knows all. We only know from our little brain, our 2 eyes, and from our 2 feet. That's one perspective out of the entirety of existence around us. And yet we trust more in our narrow, perishable perspective than in God's. God created us. He knows what is individually good for us and bad for us. He gave us strengths and therefore knows what our weaknesses would be. And so we only ever needed to have a relationship with him to grow in our strengths tactfully and depend on God in our weaknesses, but most of all to love God and be loved. We were put here for a short time to grow and develop a relationship with our Creator. The eternal is far more real than this place. What we can touch, see, and feel is only our brains reacting to electrical impulses. That lives and dies. Yet, in the eternal with God, there is all-knowing, peace, understanding, and eternity, never ending. I mean, if you just focus on that word alone, eternity is so mind-blowing. We don't have that in this world. So we come back to the real questions that have actual substance and sense. Why would anyone choose an eternity without God in a place that is the absence of God? That's what hell is. Hell is the absence of God. Why would anyone choose lies over truth? Why would anyone depend on what is temporary and perishable over what is eternal? Why would anyone choose the ways of darkness over light? What benefit is there in that for you or anyone? Why would anyone choose lust over love? God gives us everything and everyone we love here. So why would we idolize the gifts over the giver? That's all. If you need to rewatch this, absolutely rewatch this, and just, these are good things to reflect on. And if you're feeling conviction, this is a wonderful thing. Whether your conviction is leading to fleshly anger rooted by pride, or whether your conviction is joyful, peaceful revelation. Whatever it is, bring it to the Lord. Go take your quiet time. Turn everything off. Turn everything off. Turn off these phones, TVs. You don't need that noise around you all the time. Sit in silence. Sit with your Creator. Take everything to Him. Your anger, your sadness, your excuses, your everything you've ever known. Everything you've ever known. Take your perspective. Take everything. Take it to Him. And just sit in awe of His truth and let Him fill you with more. God bless. Bye.